Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Dementia and the Arts. Our educational panel is ready to roll. And before we get started showing their work, we're going to have everybody introduce themselves. So I'll start. My name is Lori La Bey, and I am one of the facilitators of this group. And my mom lived with dementia for 30 years. And oh my gosh, I wish I would have known about dementia in the arts back then to the extent that I'm learning it today, because she would have absolutely adored to have been part of a panel and gotten some of her artwork out there as well. So we're going to go around and have everybody introduce themselves. I'm going to shoot to my co-facilitator here, Mary, first, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself. Then we'll get to our panelists.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. My name is Mary Crescenzo, and I am the author of The Planet Alzheimer's Guide: 8 Ways the Arts Can Transform the Life of Your Loved One and Your Own. And I've been a pioneer in the field of arts engagement with persons with Alzheimer's and dementia since the 1990s. And I'm very happy to be here.
Great, thank you. Gail, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Gail. I'm currently living with early onset Alzheimer's, and I have been for 3 years. I was diagnosed at the age of 54, I think. Yes, I was. And I'm living in the UK, and it's very near to a town called Blackpool.
Thank you. Wally, you want to introduce yourselves?
Hello, my name's Wally Cox. I live in Lakeport, California, up in Northern California. And I was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's at the age around 62, 61. And I had to leave my 40-year plus career and go home because I couldn't work anymore effectively. And I've been dealing with that now for about 7 years. And I took up art after I left work, and we'll talk about that more later, obviously.
Thank you. And Dale, how about you?
I'm Dale Latimer. I am from Pennsylvania, but as I was telling the group, we sold our home in November of 2020, and we've been on the road ever since, traveling around the United States in our RV, which has been very fun. I was diagnosed with the behavioral variant of frontal temporal degeneration about 5 years ago. I knew that I had dementia or something wrong with my brain several years before that. But I started out with coloring and coloring books. And from there, I figured if I could choose good colors to color in a coloring book, I could try and paint. So that's where it started. I never had a creative bone in my body before then.
Great, thank you for sharing. Christine, how about you?
Hi, I'm Christine Thelker from British Columbia, Canada. I was diagnosed with vascular dementia just over 7 years ago, close to 8 years. And I started just playing around. Well, I did coloring, and I tried to do some sewing, and I just tried a lot of different things to sort of find an outlet for myself, something creative to do. And now I did some paintings, and now I'm on to some other creative energies. And I'm just always exploring different types of art.
Wonderful. Well, I can't wait to see the work. So we're going to start with Wally and have him show us some of his work and what you get out of doing art. How does it make you feel?
You know, I always used to doodle at work. I would get criticized at meetings because I would sit around and draw. But I found that it helped me concentrate. And I could never explain it, but I read an article a while back in the Wall Street Journal that said that many famous people like John Kennedy was a famous doodler. He doodled yachts and things like that. So that kind of helped me out with all my criticism in the past from teachers and coworkers that I would be doodling while they were talking, but it helped me pay attention. After I got sick and couldn't work anymore and went home, of course, after it took me a long time to realize that I still had life left in me. So once I crawled out of my depression and my self-pity, I started trying to think of things I could do. So one of the things I started doing initially was throwing clay. So I took a couple of lessons and I threw some clay and I made a couple of things, but then the lesson stopped and Peter have the capability to remember all the different steps, and I found it very frustrating for me to be able to continue. Now I've just recently retaken the clay class, but I'm paying the teacher to be there to help me remember the steps while I throw or mold. So here's a couple of examples of things I did when I was throwing clay. I made a bowl like that, and I threw this pot, of clay. And one of the things I discovered while doing art is that it gives me a great sense of peace, that time went by fairly quickly, and it helped me kind of stay calm and centered. That's one of the joys of doing art. After doing that for a while, I took up, I was always doodling. So I thought I'd share some doodles with you if you guys would like to see some doodles. So I like all kinds of doodling. One I did, so here's, you have to learn to pick up after yourself. I'm not your mother. And here's one I did, this one during a meeting. We were doing a DAI meeting. So I drew one of these. They're kind of one of those weird little things like this. And so I kind of took up doodling and drawing, and nothing in particular, but I made that for Christine. We were at a meeting. She said she saw a rabbit, so I drew a rabbit.
Oh, wow. Cool.
I think everybody recognizes who that is.
Yep. Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
It sits in a very special place in my house.
Yeah, I looked at a picture of Bugs and drew that, so it's not like I did it out of my memory. And then I went in, then I started doing some watercoloring. I still do some watercoloring. So here's just a loose watercolor of some hearts and things on paper where you overlay and see how the colors blend. I find watercoloring very peaceful because it has its own mind. And once you quit trying to be frustrated and trying to direct it, you just enjoy where it goes.
So
and
true.
then I tried doing like flowers where you outline them in ink. So it looks like that.
Beautiful.
And then I have, I brought these in off the wall. So there's a watercolor.
Oh, beautiful.
Wow.
And then here's my wife. Whoops. She asked me to do a giraffe. So I did a lady giraffe for her with flowers in her hair.
Oh, that is so darling. I saw that on Facebook and my heart just melted.
Yeah, thank you. And then, and then here's a couple more doodles I thought you might enjoy. Here's a cityscape I did. I did this one while we were traveling, so you can just see that there's a lot of activity and different things going on.
Man,
The detail is
that's
incredible.
beautiful.
And then here's one where I drew an S on a piece of paper. As at a dog show, we do agility. So I drew an S, and I thought, what am I going to do with this S? So I did more of a city. So this is kind of a similar idea, but different.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible, Wally.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
Okay. And then the last two, I'll stop boring you, is my wife does agility. So there's a drawing I did while I was sitting out there watching all the ladies and the guys do agility. Of just cartoons of dogs. And then this is, I don't know what this is, heads.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
So that's kind of what I like to do. The main thing I like to do is is just enjoy myself and find peace. And I've given a lot of them away. So I do have pictures of people getting my watercolors or my drawings when they liked them. They have to come and take a picture or they don't get them. I did mail a couple off, but you know, I don't do that anymore. It's way too expensive.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I do. A while back, I had to give I didn't have to. I had an opportunity to give a talk about my life with dementia for the Alzheimer's Association here in Northern California. And so after a lot of reflection, I gave a talk about building walls and merry-go-rounds. And I was a caregiver for my wife. We've been married since the day after she graduated from high school.
Uh-huh.
And that wasn't last year for those weirdos out there. I was 50 years ago. And anyways, we have had a great life together, but she got very ill and I was her care provider for a while. And it was a very harrowing experience. And I found that I knew a lot about her disease, but I didn't know a lot about what she needed. And I had a lot of information about what her course of sickness was and her mortality and all this stuff. But I didn't know that she needed me to just be there for her. And I had built walls between me and her. And so I talk about this in the talk. And so I did a drawing kind of illustrating building a wall between me and her.
Oh, wow. Powerful.
Wow.
And the summary was that I had to learn to tear down the walls and connect. Okay. And then the second part of the talk was about when I got diagnosed, I started building walls myself as a person who was sick instead of a person who's a caregiver. So I had to learn to tear those down too. But the conclusion of it, and this is what I'd like to share with everybody, if I may, is that this is your life once you're diagnosed with dementia. And I'm going to show you my picture of what your life is, okay? And it's this. And it says, every day is a choice. I can get up every day and find the worst of everything in front of me, or I can get up every day and be thankful for the things that I have. And I've heard it talked about learning to find joy in things. And for me, I find joy in my creativity. I just signed up to the college for voice lessons because I did some singing a while back and got to hear myself realize I need help. So I'm taking a music class, not really voice lessons, but you know, just getting out and doing things and stretching myself beyond where I feel comfortable. But also because of a lot of things like groups that I belong to, I've learned to share my dementia. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm very matter of fact that I have cognitive issues with executive functioning, things like that. So this is what you need to be prepared for if I'm going to be in your class. And if it's something you can't handle, that's fine, I'll leave. And it really helps just break the ice and then people understand. And it helps remove some of the embarrassment that I would otherwise feel when I can't remember things that everybody else is rattling off. And so that's me, that's my life. That's it.
Wow, Wally, thank you so much. That was absolutely incredible. Anybody have any questions or comments for Wally?
Beautiful work.
Well, thanks.
It's amazing. The detail in the sketches is just fantastic.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I've been doing this forever, and people started telling me that it was really nice. I've always felt a little bit silly about it, but I appreciate it. So thanks.
Wally has actually been a huge inspiration that actually encouraged me to actually start dabbling in different types of art as a release. He was just so instrumental in inspiring me.
There you go.
Wonderful. And one thing I want to mention too is Dementia Action Alliance has a arts and dementia group on Facebook where a lot of people with dementia are sharing their arts and encouraging one another. And I would really encourage our audience to check that out because the work is incredible, absolutely incredible. Well, go ahead, Mary.
No, Wally, I think it's very important point that you made that sometimes in our lives, someone, a teacher, a neighbor, a relative will say, oh, you can't do that, or this is just giving you criticism about your own unique creativity. And the fact that you were able to go beyond that, it's very powerful and it's freeing. And the fact that you do various forms of art, everyone take a chance to go on to something else, because your creativity now as artists has begun to blossom, and just let it take you in any direction that you feel is joyous and good for you.
Yeah,
Nice work.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Gail, we're going to go to you next. If you wouldn't mind sharing some of your art and how it makes you feel, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I've always been a crafty type of person, but I have never, I used to own my own embroidery business, so I would design embroidery pieces onto teddy bears' clothing. And I did that for 15 years. I own my own business. And I think people forget that when you've got dementia, we always have something before our dementia. And I think that's important, because we just don't suddenly become a person because we've got dementia. We were surviving before that, and we was living before that. And it had a big impact on me when I got my diagnosis. Because I had to give up my business, and I felt as though I was losing myself as well, losing my identity. And so I think most people fall into a deep depression, which I did. And you've got two options. You either go further down in that depression, or you start to live again. And I started to live again. And I could see people on the internet and on Twitter and Facebook were struggling. And it was that time when lockdown and COVID came about. And so I started, first of all, making little fairy houses. And I just have a tiny one here. And I started making these. And I also made the log ones as well. And I put them onto YouTube and onto the internet. And people was asking me, how do you make these? You've got dementia. How do you do it? And I said, just because I've got dementia doesn't mean to say I still can't do things. There's things I can't do, but let's concentrate on the things that we can do. And so I took some classes over Zoom on how to make the houses. And then I did some card making with people, because I love to make cards. That was one of the crafts which I've always done. And I make these birthday cards and
Beautiful.
Wow.
things, and the Christmas cards. And yeah, I took the classes on the Christmas cards, and people were really enjoying themselves. They'd never made cards before, and they were saying, oh, I can't do that. I've got dementia, I can't do it. But I was doing it step by step and doing it very slowly. And I'm one of these people that encouragement, it's all about encouragement. And the more we encourage people, the more that they will get interested in doing something. And then from there was some art classes online. And when I was at school, I was told that I was useless. You'll never draw, you're useless. And I took a watercolor. It was a Zoom with another lady who has dementia, who was teaching us how to do watercolors. And one of the first ones that I ever did was this one, and that's a fern leaf. And I've never painted and I've never drawn in my life. So I was absolutely gobsmacked that I could actually do this watercolor. And I painted a kingfisher.
Beautiful.
I love the outdoors and I love nature. And I got a camera, and so I wanted to be able to take photos and then be able to sketch things and draw things. And it's gone in all different directions, because I've tried all sorts. And I think my latest sketch was, I visited the zoo, took a photo of the lion, and then I drew him. And it took me hours, and it's hours of time that you just lose yourself in this wonderful moment of what you've captured. And it's relaxing, it's therapeutic. And then I started sort of thinking, well, it's also getting my emotions out and how I'm feeling inside. And because of the dementia, we have good days and we have bad days. I started putting my feelings down onto paper. And this is
Nice.
like screaming inside, because that's how I feel sometimes. And then there's one where we all put that mask over. I don't care whether you've got dementia or not, we all put that smiley face on, and deep down we're actually feeling quite sad sometimes. And then there's the foggy days that we get, the really bad days where you just can't function properly. And so I did this one that was coming out of the fog and sort of reaching out and trying to, just get back to normality. But the latest one that I've done was I tried to use some, I can't think, charcoal. I tried to use charcoal, a little bit messy, but we got there. And I typed out all the different words around dementia and, like sleep disturbance and your sight issues and dreams and things. And then I put a face over the top of it in charcoal. So I've tried all sorts, but it's just a release for me, and it's getting things out the way that I'm feeling, and also helping others and inspiring others to try something new, that we can still do things. Just because we've got dementia doesn't mean to say that we've just got to sit back and not do anything. We have so much to give. We really have.
You do. Your work is incredible, and the variety. And I love sharing the emotions. You know, I think that is just so important for people to be able to hear from you and to see. Because even like the one with the mask, like you said, we're all there, you know, we cover stuff up and we try to present, and everybody at every age has learned to do that. And, you know, and stuffing our emotions, we all know, is not a good thing. It just kind of battens up the hatches and lets that stress percolate even more and stuff. So I love the one where you did with all the words. I mean, what a great awareness piece. You know, that is same with Wally with his presentation, you know, to the Alzheimer's Association with building the walls and stuff. I just think it is just such an honor for me to be part of this and to hear your story. So thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else have any comments?
Yes, Gail, you spoke to something I think that we who are already on the other side have experienced, and that is stereotypes. And I think that there's a stereotype about Alzheimer's and dementia that's actually those of us who have it internalized. And that's probably even a bigger cross to bear than the ones that everybody else has. People are surprised that you can do things, but I think if I know I was surprised. I was surprised I could do things. That was even a bigger blow. And it just speaks to how we're, certainly at the end stage, like any disease, we're going to be frail and not probably able to do very many things. But in the beginning, there's a lot of life left in us, and your art shows that. And I appreciate you sharing that about the stereotypes. That's a really good point.
I'd like to comment, if I may. Gail, your work is beautiful and quite diverse. Two things Wally had just mentioned about another time in your life that perhaps you might not be able to do exactly what you do now. But this is a legacy. This is a stamp that you leave for others and that you share with others, which is so valuable to everyone who crosses your path. And the other idea that came to mind was, you had said you had never drawn before, but I think that you actually were drawing with thread. when you were embroidering. And so that movement, that experience allowed you to open up even further. Although if we've never drawn before, you certainly can still do it. But I kind of saw that in your watercolors. So yeah, we're all artists inside. The creative spirit is there. And thank you for sharing that.
And I think too, to the point of as dementia progresses, when you're looking for new purpose and you're looking to kind of calm yourself down, I think one becomes more open to trying different things. Like, what do you have to lose? And I think as adults, we are told we're not good enough. I mean, that starts in school, like you had mentioned. And we believe that. And that is so wrong. No one can judge what we're capable of doing. And, you guys prove that over and over and over again. I mean, the picture of the lion was just like, oh my gosh, that was unbelievable. Go ahead.
I think as well, it's, I've forgotten what I was going to say now, but it's like we have more time. We look at things in more detail. I don't know why, but it's like when I'm taking a photograph of something and then I'm sketching that photograph, I'm looking at every single little bit of detail. I never used to do that before. It was all rush, rush, rush because I was busy doing this, busy doing that. And now we have the time to actually sit and look.
Yeah. I'm seeing all the heads in agreement with that. Dale, I'm going to go next to you. I'm dying to see what you're doing in your RV.
Oh, it's so much fun. When I was first diagnosed, I was devastated. I contemplated suicide. It was so overwhelming. I lost my job. I lost my license. I lost so many skills that I took pride in. My personality changed. People didn't understand. I still look the same. I still talk in the same voice, but everything inside is different. And it took quite a while for me to come out of that depression and be able to find something to do every day. I had to have purpose. I had to have some reason for living. When I found adult coloring books, I had a blast. It was so much fun. My husband and our neighbor we'd all sit down together and color like a bunch of kids. And I got more and more confidence and decided that I could paint. Don't ask me where that came from, because I never had any creativity before this. And I started out at painting with this little guy here. It was at a sip and paint program. She was very helpful. The artist that ran it was very helpful, showing us how to do the work. And then I found Pinterest on the app Pinterest, and I started watching videos and thought, I can do that. Or, you know what, it doesn't matter if I don't do it well. I can do this. And so I started my little journey. Almost all of my early work has been given away as presents, as gifts. I also 2 years ago decided that instead of just giving away my artwork, maybe I could get some other benefit from it. So I did a whole bunch of commissioned work and donated all the proceeds to an organization called Association of Frontal Temporal Dementia. And this is an organization that works for research and to help people that have FTD. And they have been absolutely wonderful. We're so lucky to have them. And so people would make donations to AFTD on my behalf, and I would give them the paintings. I now have so many paintings that they take up too much storage in our little RV. So we've talked to the AFTD organization about how to be more proactive and trying to get more donations for them. So we're working on trying to do a show with any proceeds going to the AFTD. Through Pinterest, I found something called pour painting. Here's an example of it. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep.
It's where you thin down acrylic paint until the point that you can then put it on canvas and swirl it around, tilt it, and make art with that. All kinds of different pour paintings I've done.
Nice.
I wanted to also be able to have something that people could remember me by. So the gifts I've given to family and friends and others really gave me some purpose. And every day I get up and try to figure out what I'm going to do next. You can get some really bright colors in it. Here's a picture of us that I did with pour painting, and it's a beach scene. The water coming up and the beach there. I've also done other painting. This is one I found on Pinterest too. This is done, the tree is done with hot glue. I made the design of the tree and then painted it. I've done several trees of life like this to encourage others too. Here's one I did for my husband.
Oh, pretty.
It actually has, the moon actually has a face in there, if you can see it. When we were traveling in Arizona, I found the saguaro cactuses.
Oh,
Absolutely love them. When we would travel through the forest of cactus, it was absolutely beautiful. So I had to make something to remember it by. And here's another one of the forest.
oh, nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful stuff. It's so much fun. Here's a painting I did of our first camper. It was a tiny R-Pod that probably is maybe a third of the size of the RV we have now. But it was fun just trying to draw a scene with it. I plan on painting this trailer too, so that we have a good memory of our journey across the United States. Being able to paint, being able to repurpose things. I did clay sculptures. Using that creativity and putting a smile on somebody else's face means a lot to me. I'm not sitting here waiting to die. I am trying to show others that you don't die with a diagnosis. You still have a life to live. And I encourage people to live it. We debated for so long about buying an RV and traveling the country. And then one of the caregivers on our AFTD website said that, talked about all the what ifs, and people thought, you know, what if I am no longer mobile? How am I going to get up the steps? It's like, you know, that can be 10 years from now. Why don't we just enjoy this now? And we have. We have seen so many sights. And like Gail said, the meaning behind those sites, seeing the saguaro cactus and seeing the value of it, and that I see things from a totally different light now. And it's really improved my life.
This was great. And I love that the FTD organization is looking at, you know, doing some type of gallery, you know, of your work. I would love to see all the associations take up some space on their websites and get donations from people and sell artwork and empower people that
Yes.
you know, art is possible. I just think that is a brilliant thing. We've been talking about trying to figure out how to do a gallery, and on the new website I'm developing, we're looking at adding a part for that as well. But there's so many different opportunities from communities that are buying artwork. Why aren't they buying artwork of people who would actually live in their communities and show possibilities and things? Anybody else have some questions or comments for Dale?
I'd just like to say that it's great to see that you're exploring both representational art, things that we recognize, and the abstract as well. Mm-hmm. And again, it's all in your hands, and in your ability to expand in any way you want. And you've done that. And being on the road, I'm sure it influences what you see as the saguaro cactus. And yeah, when I see this, it brings joy to me, all of your work.
Good, thank you.
Wally, you had a comment?
My wife and I RV religiously. Last year we did a 13,000-mile trip during the summer. And I read a quote the other day in the Wall Street Journal about, they were talking about Alzheimer's and dementia. And at the end of the article, the guy said, at the end of my life, I want my mind filled with memories, not plans.
Yes.
And even those friends of us that are watching this that don't have Alzheimer's and dementia, you know, tomorrow's not promised.
Right.
You better get out today and do something, because that's your memories, and that's the memories you make with your family.
Yes.
And what we're doing here with art and the way we live is a testament to our children and our grandchildren about bravery.
Yes.
Exactly.
Nice job, Dale. I liked your stuff.
Thank you, Wally. I appreciate it.
Yeah, beautiful work. Beautiful.
Thank you, Gail.
Christine, let's see what you have up your sleeve.
I don't proclaim to have a lot of talent, but I just play. So one of the paintings that I've done is actually one from when we had all our devastating fires, and it was just me looking over at the hillside. And it was just as the ground started to green up again after the fires. Mm-hmm. And it just really impacted me so I just tried to capture it, you know, all the black and the fresh green and the blue sky. And it was just, so that was one of my tries at painting. I do a lot of other things, like I'm a real decorator and stuff. So I'm always playing in the house, decorating and things. But my latest project, I'll show you 3 that I'm just completing, is I am building and putting together all these birdhouses and painting them, and you know, deciding what they're going to look like and what their personality is going to be. So that's one.
Cool.
I have 3 that I've just am completing. So, you know, I have to spend time thinking about the colors that I want and what each one is expressing something. This one's a little bigger, so I have to be careful trying to bring it because it's not even quite finished yet. So it's not all. This one is my more beachy one.
Wow.
I don't know if you can see
Beautiful.
that.
Wow.
So
That's so nice.
Wow.
that's what I'm playing with these days. You know, I go out and it's really hard to find all the little grasses in the dead of winter in Canada, but I did scrounge around and, you know, shells from different places I've been and driftwood that I've gathered. And so I've got all this stuff that I've just collected over time, and I'm just putting them all together. And I'm really having fun with those because it's like I start and they sort of take on a personality, and I get to help find its personality. So I find that really creative. So I'm really, really enjoying that. There's other arts that I'd like to try. I have always wanted to have a pottery wheel. But here the cost to go take a class is not within reach for most of us. So like just to go to our art center here where they have classes, the cost to have a membership so that you can do that is out of a lot of people's reach. And for people that end up with a diagnosis of dementia, who end up not having careers and living on disabilities, those things all have an impact. So, you know, I just try to find other ways. I do a lot of photography. I spend hours every day out walking in nature. And I've had so many people, I wish I had some pictures to show you right now, but I don't, I've got them all packed away. But, you know, people always say to me, what are you looking at? They, you know, they might just see a tree or they might just see a pond. They don't see the rippling effect or the, you know, the way the leaves are turned or whatever's happening that I see. So I try to capture that with photography. So I really love that aspect of being creative. So I like to try different things.
Yeah. Now you made your book cover too.
Yes, I did. I drew my, oh, where did I put it? I just had it and I put it away. Oh, here it is. I drew the artwork for my book cover. And I did that picture actually during one of my darker moments with my dementia, trying to find my way through it, closer to the beginning couple of years, you know. So that was, this one is very special to me. It was very expressive of how I felt, you know, just sort of shattered and letting the tears flow. And
do you want to give a plug for the book?
I think everybody knows about it, but it's called For This I Am Grateful. Yeah, and of course it's on Amazon and in all the bookstores and everything. I'm just about finished my second book. That's another form of art, I guess.
Absolutely.
In a way. So my second book is just in its first we're just going through the first rough draft, and so, you know, hopefully towards the end of the summer it will be ready to go off to the publisher. So that's creative outlet for me as well.
Well, what a nice variety, you know, of work that you shared with us. I think sometimes, you know, people limit themselves on what art is. and what it looks like. And what came through to me through this whole process with all of you, and Christine, you wrapped it up again about you see the detail, and I hear that from everybody's work. You're seeing things that people don't always see. While you captured just the craziness of our world in your doodles and everything that's going on, so which kind of explains why we don't always see everything that's going on, because there's just so we're in such a busy world these days. Your painting, I've seen your photography on Facebook, Christine, and I find it amazing and really calming, really relaxing, your shots of nature. Your book is spectacular. Your birdhouses definitely have a personality. Now, do you actually make the birdhouses, or do you purchase them pre-made and then decorate?
I buy little kits and then I put them together. I don't have, if I had a little shop, I would love to be able to just cut them out myself. But of course, I'm in a little apartment now, so I don't have space for all of that stuff. But if I did, I would be forever, cutting and sawing and chopping and building. And I have a friend of mine, she's actually a volunteer now for me. She comes once a week. She cuts, she does have a little shop with her at her house with her husband. So all the little logs and stuff, I gather up the pieces and then she cuts them for me and stuff. So that's helpful. And then I just, I try to incorporate some stuff that I may purchase, like some of the little flower things and stuff, with some stuff that I have found out in nature. Mm-hmm. So I try to combine it. And it's fun. I lose hours. I could lose days getting lost doing it, deciding on colors, and like my stellar jay he was 3 different types of a bird before I finally settled on him being a stellar jay, So.
Any other comments for Christine?
I would like to just say, Christine, that a suggestion to you in regard to your ceramics interest. But first of all, I love all the things that you do, the variety, it's just beautiful in their own styles. But yeah, classes can be expensive, but there is a form of clay that you can just get at a hobby store that you can work on your own. Don't worry about the lessons, just let yourself be free. And some of it does dry hard. You could paint it, or you could start working with ceramics in terms of like a shape, a bowl, and then you might find that you're doing sculpture. So I don't know if you've ever tried just purchasing materials, but that's an idea too.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I love the feeling of shaping and molding,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, the wet and the hard. I just like how it feels to try to form it into something,
Mm-hmm.
So I will have to see if I can find a place here where I can find that.
Yeah,
I've done those kind of. Sorry, Gail.
Sorry, UK, we have what's called air dried clay, and I make little gift tags out of them, and then paint them with watercolor. And you can use that air dried clay to make the bowls and the dishes and paint them.
Interesting.
I also use air dried clay. I made several frogs. It's just, you're in there with your hands and squishing, and it just feels good. And I just get it at Walmart.
Okay. Wally, you had a comment as well?
I just want to tell Christine that when she finally gets down to California, like she's been promising me for 3 years, I'll take her to my pottery class and we'll get her some lessons, okay?
Cool.
Okay,
that little COVID thing kind of wrecked our plans because
you know what? I'm still waiting for that. I'm still waiting for that to all change, Wally.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
know.
still at the top of my bucket list.
There you go. But you know, there's a lot of colleges and stuff. You know, they offer things you can go in, and you don't have to sign up. Sometimes as a senior citizen, you can just sit in. So to check your university college to see if they got anything for you, where you can just attend. I forget there's a name for it. I forget what it's called, but you just show up as a senior citizen
And it's free.
just,
Yeah.
you enjoy it, and they don't charge you. You don't get a grade, but who cares?
Maybe that's better. No. But
It's the same attitude I had in high school, unfortunately. You know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's a really good idea about the universities. I was thinking too, even like with our senior centers and things like that, where it's free to go to, it would be nice if they would purchase things like that, because I think sometimes they think very basic in terms of what people can accomplish. And I know that there's some work entailed that you know, someone needs to know how to work the pieces of equipment and stuff too. But you know, maybe that might enhance somebody to stay with you if you get a little more creative too. Because that's all an issue with staffing and things. Well, this has been really interesting. I would encourage people who are watching to like, click, and share this. Encourage people, if you know businesses from coffee shops to communities and churches and clinics, to consider displaying the artwork of people around them living with dementia. I think it would be a wonderful awareness campaign. I think it would be uplifting and would give people ideas about the possibility and the hope, which I don't think we can give that out enough. And you know, or if you're interested in displaying some of these works, feel free to reach out to me. We'll see if we can coordinate something on that. But I do want to let you know that if you want to do a display, you need to pay for that too. You can't expect people with dementia to crate things up and pack things up and come out and put them up. You know, they're struggling, you know, with dementia. And so, you know, we have to make good sense with that and good leverage. I know a couple of you have to leave, so we will go ahead and wrap up. Thank you so much, everybody.
Take care.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you.
Bye-bye.